one of the first things I do with an athlete, having them focus on the things they can control. This is like Any Given Sunday, Al Pacino. It's a game of inches.
Yeah.
Well, wrestling's a game of inches, especially when you have two guys who are similar level. Like once I have a client or once I have an athlete, whether they're with me or not, once we've had that time in that relationship, like that'll always be established.
Yeah.
Where I'll always help them. I'll always look out for them, regardless of the business venture. What isn't measured isn't managed. For salespeople,
Say that again?
What isn't measured isn't managed. If you're guessing, you ain't assessing, pal.
Damn.
So if you're serious.
Yes, sir. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Burn Down Podcast. Today we have a returning guest, fellow BDP guest, our good friend, Coach Nick Coco. What's up, my friend?
How we doing, fellas?
You know what I think of every time I hear your last name, Coco? Have you ever seen the movie Inglourious Bastards?
Yes.
When he says, well, I speak the most Italian, so I'm going to be number one. And he speaks the second, and he speaks the third. He goes, well, I don't speak Italian. He's like I said, third most. And then they go in. He goes, what's your name? And he goes, Dominic De Coco. What's your name? Dominic De Coco. Every time I think of it, I want to say
really?
Nick De Coco.
I don't remember that part.
I've only seen that like bits and pieces. I haven't seen the whole movie, but I see that on Instagram all the time.
I haven't seen that film in a while.
Yeah, it's been.
I don't speak any Italian.
I know that where they do this. They go.
That's where it started.
You know that
like
guy? So the guy, what's his name? Christopher Waltz, the actor that plays. I think he plays Hitler in that movie. Again, I've seen bits and pieces. I heard that because he speaks like 5 different languages.
Yeah.
And I heard that he speaks them all fluently, and he learned it for the movie. I'm like, how the fuck do you do
I know
that?
some people take it serious.
Anyway, so that's
but
what
we
I
got
think of.
Nick in the studio here, wrestling coach, wrestling consultant, personal trainer, all the things you can think of. Anything.
Life coach, I
all
guess,
of the
too?
above.
Did you consider yourself a life coach too?
Yeah, well,
Because I remember we talked last time about you're not necessarily like the kids that come in.
Well, things have changed apparently.
Things have changed, but I remember talking last time.
changed.
The reason why I say life coach because last time we were talking about how your I guess your wrestlers, your players, your
Wrestlers,
the kids that come in, you're not only teaching them wrestling, but you're teaching them about life, and you're trying to set them up to be successful, not just in wrestling, but taking the same principles to be successful in life. I remember we talked about that, so you can kind of see as you're like a life coach.
So for the people who are listening for the first time with you on it, give them a little background about who Nick is, where you
we'll tag the
coach, what
previous
you
episode
do.
too. We'll tag
we'll put it in here. But just a little refresher for the people.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, returning guest here. Happy to be back with you guys. It was last September.
Thanks for making the trek. He was stuck in a lot of traffic.
Right.
From the city
Yeah.
back to Long Island to here.
You make it happen, right? You got to make it happen when it's important.
That's what matters. And he's got the Cheers Chin Chin salute shirt
Eric
on.
And I we're matching. We didn't plan this though.
No, we didn't send each other emails or text each other.
This is my favorite one. So I wore it the last episode, so I figured I'd wear it this time. But again, thankful to be here. Appreciate you guys having me here in person. There's nothing better than in person.
Yes,
the
sir.
power of in person.
Yeah, dude.
I do a lot of Zoom. I do a lot of phone calls. I meet with clients and athletes. I typically do one-to-ones either remotely on the phone or on video, but there is just something special about being in person, face to face.
Yeah, you get that connection.
You can feel a little bit of
energy,
chemistry when you're in versus
because we haven't done a Zoom interview in a very long time, and some people ask to be on the podcast, and it's like, oh, we can do it Zoom, and I'm like, unless you really are worth of the time, I don't want to do the Zoom. I'd rather you just be here.
It's more of if it's barring geographical barriers, right? Like say I have clients. I work with one client right now, Chris. He's doing a phenomenal job. He's an athlete. He's an adult wrestler. He's in California. He's based in the LA area. So shout out to Chris. He's been doing an awesome job staying accountable, staying on the program. But obviously, if he's here in New York, we would meet.
Yeah, but you can. He's so
yeah.
So I'm working with a lot of wrestlers, a lot of combat athletes, not just in New York, not just locally here, but all over the country. That's the beauty, and this is why the podcast is so powerful because we can connect.
You can connect. Now, what are you doing? Remind the folks again. What are you doing with your clients? You said you're working with combat athletes, wrestlers. What are you doing for them?
Yeah, so I have a background. I'm a college wrestling coach. I coached at Hunter College in New York City, so I was there for about 3 years, and then prior to that, I was working with high school and youth athletes. So I pretty much coached wrestlers from K to, let's say, graduates level.
From K to graduate.
I've worked with tons of different wrestlers at different levels, right? So But it's not only that. I have a background in strength and conditioning, sports performance, sports psychology. So not only do I help them build and design programs that can increase their performance and like prevent injury, which is obviously, as you know, as a former athlete, like super important, but I also tap into like the mind and help them overcome, mental hurdles, anxiety, nerves, things like that. You know how it is getting ready for a big game. Maybe it's conference final, playoff, because there's a lot of mental that goes into it. Like once you get an established baseline, say all the skills and drills, you know how to do the layups, you know how to do the different fundamentals, right? Shoot, pass, etc.
Yeah.
What is going to separate good from great? Like any sport.
Your mind,
right? So I'm helping them with the mental side. I'm helping them with the technique side. So it's an all-encompassing programs where I'm helping them from multiple facets. It's not just like one thing. It's
now. What would you say?
Holistic
Because I
approach.
think that's a very important and important thing you said is that it's all in your head, right? If you've done the work and you put all the practice in, right, that's what can build your confidence on the floor. But people still get nervous and people still get nerves, and I think that the nerves it's important to realize that if you're getting nervous, it means that you care about
What you're
doing. If you're not getting nervous, then you don't care. But if you're getting, even professional athletes, even like Tiger Woods and all these guys, they said, yeah, I would still get nerves on the first tee, or even LeBron James or Michael. Yeah, I still get nervous, but I just realize I'm nervous. That's fine. It's a chemical reaction.
I know what to do.
I've put in. Then like Kobe Bryant would say is like I've put in all of the reps that I possibly could to prepare for this moment. So nerves are going to come. They're going to come whether you like it or not. They're going to be there. But did you put all the preparation that you could? All right, then just swallow the nerves and get out there and perform.
Yeah.
It's like if you're nervous because you didn't prepare, or are you nervous because this is a very important situation, right? If you're nervous because you didn't prepare, then you failed to prepare, and guess what? Prepare to fail. But if you're nervous because this is an important situation, it's a big game, like it's fine. Recognize the nerves, embrace the nerves, and be like, all right, this is because I care about this thing. It's not because I didn't prepare. It's because I really care about.
Is there when you're dealing with different age brackets for wrestlers and guys that you work with, did you notice a certain trend with like guys who are like 10 to 15 are get anxious and worried about this, and guys who are in college and high school get worried about this? Is there like a certain trend you see with regarding, I guess, nervousness, anxiety, and being anxious for matches?
Yeah, that's a great question. So really, I started to notice more so how much the mental part was important, especially post-COVID, post-2020. And I knew that I had to bring it to the next level, meaning I had to go beyond skills and drills. Just like there's shooting and passing, there's singles and double legs in wrestling. Real basics, real fundamentals. And I knew in order to bridge the gap and make the difference, I had to tap into more of like the sports psychology, mental training. So I started incorporating mental training into skills and drills. For example, like in a match, you get set on bottom and you got to move to get out.
Nick, I mean to cut you off. Is his mic okay, or is that too low, or is that good?
No, he's okay.
I
can turn it up more.
I couldn't tell if it was dead.
I hear you.
No, I hear everybody. I'm just. You get like a little PTSD with like all this audio shit. Like you don't want to make sure you lose the audio, and the audio cuts out.
Because I was about to go in.
Yeah, I saw you about to fucking just head off. I was like, no.
I cranked it up a little bit. So
okay, yeah. I just wanted to make sure we're rocking and rolling. All right, so I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So, incorporating the mental with the physical, right? So to keep it simple, just like there's shooting and passing drills. I keep going back to basketball because I know our brother here is a former. We
can switch it to golf now too, because I haven't touched the basketball in God knows how long.
I love it. It's like one of my favorite because he is a Tiger and I'm a Golden Eagle. He's an RIT guy. I'm a Brockport guy.
That's right.
I know, man.
That's right.
So
we had some battles.
Eric and I
really.
I missed a wide open dunk at Brockport once.
Yeah. Really?
Got the ball back and hit a three, so I guess it was better. But
they were always back and forth. And even as a student athlete there, I like remember that now because when we were all in college around the same time. So
yeah, there was some battles, man. Our center got teabagged bad against Brockport, really bad. Like
I brought Justin down memory lane,
dude. Like it was so bad that
this is my fault.
That our bench got like excited because it was that bad of a dunk. It was some guy shot a ball and our center was under the basket waiting for like the rebound, and the ball was shot and it hit off the back rim hit the backboard, hit the front rim, backboard, and then it was floating up, and he was there like this right under the basket, and one of their guards came running down from the 3-point line and took off.
A little Iman Shumpert action.
Dude, and our center went up like this to grab the ball, and the guy came over the top of took the ball out of his hands, cocked it back, and went, whoa.
Yeah, Iman Shumpert.
Dude.
Playoff Nick.
All of us on the bench were like, oh. It was our own teammate that got dunked on. We were like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it's only natural.
I was like, get him a sub.
Yeah.
Take him out, coach. Take him out.
just take him out.
Dude,
Just
it was bad. It was bad. It's one of the worst ones I've ever seen. So anyway, he took me down memory lane.
Sidebar.
No, it's good. I wanted to bring up, you brought up the golf. So obviously we've all been golfing before, and Eric and I have been golfing like now a lot.
We all golfed at my bachelor party.
It's a huge mental aspect. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I was like, switch to, because that is.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about
all mental. I
like
think.
some of the tips about how do you overcome some of those, first tee jitters or like getting over the nerve, and that's a big thing, mental.
It's challenging. So say for myself or anyone here, football, basketball, wrestling, if you were really good at something and this is something you specialized in, now you're picking up a new sport like golf, you're not going to be great yet. It takes time. It takes practice. I think a big part of golf, which I break it down like would be breathing. When before you hit the tee, before you tee off, it would be like to hit some deep breathing, because you would want to be as relaxed as possible. You want to be as focused, and breathing helps bring down our heart rate and just getting more of a relaxed state versus like a tense state.
Yeah.
As we all know, it's easy to get pissed off when you're on the.
That's a good.
Simple.
I used to do that on the free throw line. You have like a routine, right? Spin the ball, bounce it, whatever you do your routine, and then before I would shoot it, it would be just one like deep breath and then shoot the basketball. I used to do that every free throw.
It's amazing what one deep breath can do.
Yeah.
Imagine 3.
Yeah, imagine 3 exactly. But just one just kind of clears. No matter what you're doing, whether it's road rage or you're fucking nervous about something, you take one deep breath, you're like, oh shit, I'm back to normal. I'm like, I kind of.
And some people don't realize a deep breath. Like you breathe
through the nose.
You breathe in as much as you could possibly fit into your lungs. Like huge breath in, and then a huge breath out. And like that one breath should take 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And do 3 of those. So you take a minute and a half to do the 3 huge breaths, and your heart rate, you probably can say, like studies can probably show that your heart rate might drop 10 beats a minute in just a matter of a minute and a half of breathing,
Yeah, breathing is definitely an important part for anyone who's getting into, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very popular now, mixed martial arts. I'm sure there's listeners and people like that who do those types of things. Breathing is important because you might be very tense, and your natural inclination is to be tense. It's like someone shooting a basketball. They're not going to use the proper form. So as a coach who helps grapplers, helps wrestlers, like one of the first things I would tell them is to like breathe and relax. Like it's the opposite of like hitting a heavy max or you want to be loose. You like loose but firm simultaneously. It's a paradox.
When we were doing squats, right, and you were going for your 1 rep max, and you put the weight on the bar.
Yeah.
And the first rep you didn't get it. You squatted down. You couldn't
My breath
get
was
back
all
up, right?
fucked up. Yeah.
So what I said, this next breath, I want you to breathe into your balls. Breathe as deep as you possibly can, and then tighten your core, and now squat.
Yeah.
And then he hit it, no problem.
300, baby.
Let's roll.
And it was the same weight, nothing changed, just
and
a
huge
breath.
We took 2 videos. The first one, I was lifting up, I took it off the rack. I went down, and as I was going up, I like hesitated in my breathing, and I went and I fell. Then I redid it, and I took a huge breath, and I was just like, and it was like,
go down and
let's
exhale.
work,
bro.
Yeah.
It was an
breathe. You tighten your core.
feeling.
You squat down, exhale on the way up, and it was like came right back up. I said, "See."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh shit!" I said, "Dude, it's." And
Definitely.
all it was. You didn't change anything strength wise. You didn't change anything form. It was just your breathing.
Yeah, as we talk about like exercise technique, that's a huge part, is like breathing in the eccentric, the lowering phase, and then breathing as you rise up in like the concentric phase.
Yeah.
Can you control your breathing like during a match when you're when you're grappling or wrestling?
Yes, definitely. So in wrestling, like there's out of bounds, right? So they typically call it, like they whistle it. When you're going back to the center in the middle, like you should be breathing. I would instruct an athlete to breathe, and I would tell them like that's like a reset button. It's like after a football play, you want to forget about the last play and like lock into the present moment and what's in front of you right now. Like you can't allow the last down to affect. Like, this is a new down, a new play.
Yeah. What's done is done. You're not going to change it. I
don't know if your football coach has ever like instructed that type of mindset, but that's powerful. Like, new down, fresh start, new play. Like,
absolutely.
That's the same thing a wrestler should do. No matter what happened in the prior exchange, it should be going back to the middle, like reset. And one of the ways to do that is breathing, fixing your headgear, fixing your equipment, your shoes, just like a little cue, a little physical cue.
Use the time that you get.
Definitely.
Use it. You're getting an extra, 10, 15 seconds to get reset. Use that. Use that for like 5 big deep breaths, right?
Absolutely.
And that's another thing I help them with, Justin, is like game planning, like strategizing. Like, that's match strategy. Like, use the time in your favor. How can we take advantage of these seconds, these moments, these minutes? So that's a big part of what I'm helping them do.
So now, how much do you get? Let's say, okay, I don't know the rules of wrestling, but something happens, right? And then they say, okay, now you're going to be on bottom, and he's gonna be on top. How much time do you get, right? Because the guy's got to be down, and you see some guys like taking a little bit of time before they get on into the position where they want to go on the right side or left side. How much time do you get? Is there like a shot clock, or is there a?
It's essentially up to the official's discretion. So you have about a 5 to second buffer. Like, obviously, if you're milking it, they're going to call you out. So you definitely need to have some level of urgency. But again, with experience and match experience and college experience, you could take your time. You could pick your spots. And I always recommend guys taking their time when getting set on bottom and top, because it's like we're talking about resetting, refocusing, getting a fresh start is very important, because this is like Any Given Sunday, Al Pacino. It's a game of inches.
Yeah.
Well, wrestling's a game of inches too, especially when you have two guys who are similar level. I remembered, and it's okay, you can stop me. You said, like, what do you find that's common now? You said, what? You asked me a question. It was like, what do you feel people are struggling with?
Yeah, like certain age brackets, the type of age brackets that you work with, there are certain trends that you find in like 10 to 15, say, and then 17 to 25. Like, do they focus or worried about different things?
So, yes, and it's comparing themselves to others and specifically focusing too much on like their opponents, what they're going to do, or their like rankings, seeds, predictions. Like, we used to have like the Journal News or like the paper, News 12. Right, our generation of athletes, we had like more tangible publications, let's say, and maybe there was a little bit of internet forums, things like that. But with obviously social media,
they have all highlight tapes.
Yeah, like, you can really lose yourself in being too focused on your opponent. You can look them up, you can watch their matches.
Yeah, you're focused more on the external than the internal. And
it's not good, because you're pulling yourself from being in the moment, and you're focused on them more than you're focused on yourself and your strategy and your game plan. So, like, one of the first things I do with an athlete or a client is like having them focus on the things they can control. Like, there's a lot in any sport, golf, wrestling, football, basketball, that's outside of your control. So when we're starting this journey, we're starting this path, we want them to lock in on like the things you can control. And anybody who's done any sort of personal development knows about controlling the controllables, right? Maybe you guys have heard that, of course. Like,
worry about what you can control, and don't worry about what you can't.
So that's the big one, and I think social media just like amplifies it, because you could look up anybody.
Yeah.
So I see you do a lot of video, like you do a lot of interviews or a lot of lives on social media, and I see you always talk about social media and like the outside influence it has on, the matches, on their opponent, and how it negatively can affect the operate.
Now I can see. In some aspects, it's good to study your opponent, but I think the problem is when you get lost in it and you're not worrying about, okay, what can I control? But like, for instance, in basketball, you would want to scout your opponent and see, are there some tendencies that they will do, or how do they like to play in this situation? How does, you might look at, I'm going to be guarding this guy, and he always goes right. He never goes left. So, okay, so maybe when I'm on defense, I'm going to guard his right side. I'm going to force him left. That's one way that you can use it. But when you get lost in it so much, okay, like he's going to go right. He only wants to, and then you forget about doing the things that you can control. You can't control what he's going to do, but you can look at him, okay, I'm going to be mindful. This guy, he likes to shoot threes. He doesn't. That's one way that you can study and scout your opponent, but getting lost in the sauce is the problem.
I think, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, I think the times you do get lost is maybe the confidence level isn't there. Like, if it's a wrestler and he's a good wrestler, but mentally, or he doesn't have the confidence to say, you know what, I'm gonna watch this guy and just pick up on what I can do, as opposed to looking at him and saying, "Oh God, he's a lot better than me. Oh, he's faster than me. Oh, look at that." I feel like it's a perception within and how you evaluate your opponent. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely like a split camp here, like to watch film, to not watch film. I agree with you, and I agree with Justin. Like, same thing in wrestling. Like, you want to be able to identify tells, meaning does he lead with the left leg or the right leg? Does he move right? Does he move left? We'll keep it very high
is
level.
there something that he does before
he
he's about to shoot? Like, does he take a step back before? Like, for instance, like a runner, when they say like the sprinters, right? You're not supposed to, when you're going, you're not supposed to take a step back and then go, right? In basketball, what they say is when you're doing a shot fake, right? Some guys will shot fake they like take a step back because they're going to drive, because you know they're going to pump. He goes, Kobe used to say it, when you're shooting, are you going to shoot with your back, like take a step back and then no, you shoot with your legs up. He goes, so if you see him put his leg back, he ain't going to shoot the ball. You know that he's going to drive. That's a tell. So I imagine the same thing. Like if somebody's going to go shoot the legs, if they put like a foot back and then they're going to go, you can be like, all right, he's going to come.
That's bad technique.
That's bad technique. You're not supposed to put
bad
the foot.
Form.
You're just bad form, but it might be a bad habit.
Right.
You're like, all right, he's going to.
Well, in football, it's the same way. I played wide receiver and cornerback or strong safety. So
Corner's the hardest, I think. Yeah.
At wideout, when you go off your route, you don't want to say go and then step back, then go. You want to take your dominant
like
foot
that
and just
go.
Yeah, you just want to boom go.
Which is a hard thing because naturally you want to do.
Yeah.
But,
and
momentum.
people think I'm quicker that
Exactly.
way. I'm like,
but
you're
on the
not
opposite side,
quicker.
as a cornerback, you could say sometimes these corners will take. So you want to just jam them up right off
when
the
you
line.
push them back even further and throws the timing off.
So
yeah.
it's a give and take type of thing.
Because some people don't realize that. They go, oh, but I'm quicker to react that way. I said, you might be quicker to react, but you're losing half a step. So you might be quicker, like off the push, but you're losing a half a step back. So if you were to do the time and your momentum's going backwards, so if he jams you, now you're further back, and now you have to make up 1.5 yards.
Yeah.
Instead of just jumping right into, because you know he might jam you. So if you're moving back and he jams you, you're going to go further back. But if you go into it and he jams you, then you might just stop and now you can break off of him. Or you know he's going to jam, you might be able to slip it and beat him. But most people don't realize that that's bad technique, putting that back foot.
Bad technique. All right, so are you not at Hunter College anymore?
No, I'm not there currently.
Okay. So now is it just all Coach Coco consulting? That's the main driver right now.
Yeah,
So you're full time.
Right now my main focus is just acquiring and retaining my current clients and helping them achieve their goals on and off the mat. So,
and were you doing that while you were coaching too, right?
Yeah, I was doing it simultaneously, but eventually something needed to give. I loved being there. I love the staff and the athletes. I still have a good relationship with all of them, and I stay in touch with them.
Do you still coach some of like the kids there that are like some of the college
we
kids?
have a great relationship, so if they ever need anything or they reach out, I'll communicate with them. I'll give them guidance just off.
Yeah, like a consulting
respect.
them. Like, hey, listen, if you want me to come in and help your team with a little mental battle they're going through, whatever.
But you asked me this prior. Like, there's athletes who I coached who are now graduated college, in the workforce. They're in their early stages, maybe mid-20s, getting things started professionally, just like all of us were. And I still help them and I still consult with them. But it's beyond consulting. It's like once I have a client or once I have an athlete, whether they're with me or not, like once we've had that time in that relationship, like that'll always be established.
Yeah.
Where I'll always help them. I'll always look out for them, regardless of the business venture. That's how I feel. That's the way I'm doing things. So I'll help somebody. Like I just wrote one kid a recommendation letter for graduate school, right? I'm doing that just off the respect and the work he put in his time as being an athlete under me.
You're also like a mentor then.
Yeah. That's what we were talking about. So my goal is like not to just have this relationship while they're still an athlete. It's to maintain the relationship. Whether you need the consulting services from strength and conditioning, injury prevention, mental training, but my goal is to keep that relationship going. And then what I'm really looking to do is create an entire network where if somebody's within the network, like LinkedIn, they could tap in and shoot a message out.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to create my own like professional network where former college and current, wrestlers from all ages can really just be able to communicate and bounce ideas off each other. Like I have a Slack group going right now.
What's a
Slack? If you're familiar with Slack.
It's like a Teams. Like a Teams or like a Skype type.
Oh, okay.
Skype,
Gotcha.
Discord is similar.
Yeah.
I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not. Discord's like a gamer thing, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't use.
It's fun. I actually used Slack at one of my old jobs. That was like the way of internally communicating.
So that's one of the things on a broader lens that I have, but specifically helping athletes overcome mental hurdles, mental blocks, getting ready for peak performance, being able to peak at the end of the season, get ready for either a big fight or a big match. So that's where I'm coming in and helping them do that.
Do you do like public speaking and like talks to teams?
I've been bouncing around a lot. I've talked to some gyms like MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools. I've talked to some high school teams, and I'll even jump on a Zoom, barring geographical barriers like we talked about. I'd love to do it in person. There's the power there, but someone contacts me, hey, we're in Rochester. Shout out to the 585.
I'm like to the 585.
As you're like, I'm gonna, but it just depends. So there's a lot of different ways. So typically, like anything, it's about the work you put in, right? And so they need to oblige by the program, whether that's a certain exercise, drill, visualization, goal setting, repetition. It's like working out in the gym. You got to put in the work.
It's actually, I wanted to ask you more about some of the mental help that you're giving these kids, right? Because strength and conditioning, I think we've all been in the gym, and you understand, okay, you got to lift some weight. You want to get stronger? You got to lift some weights, all right? You got to push yourself and get stronger and stronger. You want to do conditioning? Conditioning is working out for the heart, okay? Getting your heart in your lungs. But the mental aspect is people don't realize that you need to exercise your mental aspect too. Just like if you want to get stronger, you go into the gym and you work out. If you want to get more conditioned, you have to run. You have to get your heart rate elevated, heavy breathing, so you can get more conditioned. But for the mental aspect, people don't really know, how do I train my mental side? How do I train my brain, right? So some people will do crosswords because it's just something every day. They'll do a crossword because it helps keep their brain function. So people that are well into their 80s and 90s that are keeping their brains active by doing brain exercises, whether it's a crossword or they're doing mathematical equations or they're doing or reading or something, or they're visualizing the book or meditating. All of these things are working out their brain. So what sorts of exercises do you have some of your clients doing to help strengthen the mental side of things? Yeah,
that's a great question. And when you think about it, it's just like anything else, right? You got to put the time and the energy and the effort. People think it's like a magic wand. You can just wave it and it's going to work. You think about it, Justin, how much time do we spend on the physical as an athlete?
Right. You spend a lot.
And then how much time do we spend on the mental aspect?
Not that much. And the mental is, if not more important than the physical.
Yeah, definitely. I think we already touched on one of them earlier, and it's you were mentioning how if you have nerves before a game, it means you care, and it's a good sign. And if you hear Mike Tyson, I was afraid before every fight, and we hear this. Yeah,
fear. And I stepped in the ring, and I was God.
You could cue the Tyson for the real,
dude.
Cue the clip.
So, when he said that thing, you're like chill. You're like, oh,
that's a good one. And so fear is a big part prior to a game, prior to a match. But I think the big thing we do is turning those nerves and that energy into excitement. I always say that getting ready for a tournament should be like a kid on Christmas. As the game and the match gets closer, you should be excited, happy, enthralled by it, not nervous, shrinking, minimizing like the challenge. So we have to come up with ways of them listing, what are you nervous about and why, and what are you excited about? Really, it's just a simple mental shift. It's really just reframing. If you guys are familiar with reframing from a negative to a positive, we all do that. We have to.
Yeah, and I feel like writing it down too is a good exercise, because I think that when you write it down, you write the things you're nervous about. When you see it on paper and then you read it back, you realize that 90% of them you can't control. Like you realize that, okay, I've wrote all these things that I'm nervous about. I can't control any of them. So why am I nervous? Right? You're nervous about something that's completely out of your control. So you realize, all right, this is what I'm excited about. This is what I'm nervous about. Can't really control any of these things on the negative side. So let me just focus on all the things that are good.
Yeah, and just to continue with, that's just one specific exercise, one specific scenario. Every athlete, every salesperson, every business owner should have a journal. They should have a notebook. Whether they're using the notes app on their phone or I'm a big advocate of the physical, tangible notebook and putting pen to paper, because it just really reinforces what you're doing. It makes it more real. But the point is, you need to have a journal. You need to have a reflection going on. You need to know your strengths, weaknesses, improvement areas, and just writing essentially data down. whether that's from like working out, nutrition, technique. But this is essentially getting you in the process of self-evaluating your performance, because now you're going to be able to look at it objectively and think, this is what I did well. This is where I need to improve. This is my game plan for this week. When people are one of my clients who I work with directly, I require them to do like a daily check-in and a weekly check-in, so I can actually follow their progress remotely throughout the week. And it shows if they're actually committed to the process or not, if you're willing to take a 5-minute Google form. So it's a commitment level. I could see where they're at and gauge their commitment and accountability. So you have to really buy into it. Like anything else, you have to believe in it. Nothing works unless you believe in it. You could have the worst program in the world.
So how do you get people to buy into it? Talking about salespeople, right? Yeah, obviously an aspect you have to sell, quote, these athletes into this program, this idea of you have to work in mental as opposed to physical. So like, how do you get people to get to that point?
Yeah, it's a great question, Eric. And I think going back to the 80-20 rule, when you're talking about salespeople specifically, because we're all in sales. I've heard you guys say this on the podcast like a zillion times. I love it every time. Like, it's 80% of your efforts are going to be your 20% of your results, right? The 80-20 rule. So it's like we have to focus on the process. We have to focus on the mechanics. So I'll get into that in a little bit, why focusing on the process is more important, i.e., working the whole time in the match, using fakes, like focusing on what you have to do versus like, I need to win. The
little things.
Yeah, that's actually, that reminds me of, I think when you were talking about writing stuff down in logging, and then you can reflect on it, but then also thinking about, the process and the task instead of thinking about the end result. It's the same way I think about it in golf too, is when you're playing your 18 holes, everybody's like, I want to shoot a score. This is what I want to shoot. It's like, don't think about the score. Mm-hmm. Think about the next shot. How can I hit the next shot to the best of my ability?
That's great.
How do I hit this shot? And then at the end, the culmination of you doing your best on every single shot would result in a good score. Because too many people think of, it's 18 holes, and then they'll have like a bad. And
we've all done it.
I'm the culprit. I've done it before. You start off, you have a double bogey, and the next hole you have a double bogey. You're like, that's it. This whole fucking round's over. And it's like, no, the round's not really that over because it's only 2 holes, right? You're +4 for 2 holes. But if you go par, now you're +4 for 9 holes, and that's a good score, right? So then, to the point of the second thing is you were writing it down so you can reflect on it, right? When you're playing a golf, if you're trying to get better, then just going out and posting a score, writing your score, I'm like, okay, I did the score. Now next week I'm trying to do a better score, but you're not thinking about, what can I do better to improve? Like, what is the process? Because there's certain things in that round that you didn't do well, that if you didn't write them down, you're not going to know. So, for instance, one of the things that I keep track of is there's statistics in golf, fairways that you've hit, greens that you've hit, greens in regulation, and then putts. And I keep track of those, right? So, at the end of a round, if I look at the score and it says, all right, you only hit, and let's say it's a bad round, and you only hit 20% of the fairways, or you only hit 20% of the greens. I'm like, all right, well, maybe now I need to work on hitting the fairway, because I did the greens, I did good, the putts I did good, but I just didn't hit the fairways. So my score was bad. All right, now I know what to work on this next week, so that when I go play again, I'll do a better job of hitting the fairways, and then I'll hit the green. And then, so these things that you keep track of, where it's like, all right, this is the area of my golf game that needs to be improved. But you're not going to know that unless you log it, unless you jot it down. And that's if you're really trying. If you just want to go out and play golf, then go out and play golf. No big deal. But if you're trying to improve, you need to log down the things. In exercising, if you're trying to improve your strength, how are you going to know if you're getting stronger if you're not writing down, keeping track of what you're lifting?
Yeah, you think you can remember. You'd be like, I have to work on that. And then as soon as you get home, you're like, what do I got to do?
I keep a little chalkboard in my garage, a little chalkboard, and it has like squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, pull-ups, right? Things that I'm trying to work on. And if I did a number, right, squat, put the number in times however many reps. And the next time I'm going, if I'm feeling good that day, because some days you can feel it, some days I'm not really feeling it. But if I'm feeling good, all right, that was what I did the last time I was really feeling good. Let's see if 3 weeks ago when I did that, if I got stronger. Put the same amount of weight on the bar and see if you can beat that number of reps.
Yeah, I would do that same thing in my phone. Like Mark, my brother-in-law, years and years ago, he had a little personal training business, and he sent me like a workout plan. I'm like, listen, I'm an average guy in the gym. I just want a basic workout plan. He's like, all right, boom. I still use it to this day. And in my phone, I have a note section, dumbbell presses, curls, all this stuff. And I'll put, rep 1 times 10, 35 pounds. Rep 2, 8, 35 pounds. And I'll use that every single day. And then the next week, when I'm doing that weight, I'll see if I'm at the same or if I'm more. And then over, obviously, the course of the time, I'll see, I started at 35. Now I'm up to 75.
Yeah.
Obviously, you see the growth. But you can't do that if you just all right, today I'm going to do 40 pounds today. And we'll just see where it's at.
And it's
important.
Anything. And some people think that, I got to increase weight. No. If you have the same weight, 225, and you squatted it 10 times, and the next time you're in the gym, you've done 225, but you did 11 times. You're stronger. Next time you're in the gym, you do 225, you did it 13 times. You're getting strong. Okay, now when you go back in, maybe you go from 225, you go to 245. And now you do it 9 times maybe. Or you've done it 10 times. Like, okay, well now, 3 weeks ago, I did 225 10 times. Then I did it 11. Then I did it 13. Now I'm doing 245 for 10 times. And you do it again. Keep the weight. And when you get to a point where it's like, all right, I'm doing too many reps, add some weight on. So your reps come back down. And so you can do, same thing with pull-ups. Like, you can add weight, but if you're doing pull-ups, okay, maybe last week I did 8. Now this week maybe I'll do 9. Next week I'll do 10. Then I'll do 12. Let's say now I'm doing 30 pull-ups. All right, maybe I can add some weight on my, hang a dumbbell between the legs. But you're right. You got to write it down. Otherwise, you think that you're going to remember it. You never do.
It's powerful, like Nick said.
Yeah, I think these are great things. Using the notes on the phone, using the dry erase board, the chalkboard.
I got an old school chalkboard, man.
It's even
you know what
better.
it is? It's actually the rookie move board that we had.
Oh, really?
It's hanging up there. Yeah.
It's just the act of putting it pen to paper, typing it. What isn't measured isn't managed, right? So for salespeople,
say that again?
What isn't measured isn't managed. If you're guessing, you ain't assessing, pal.
Damn.
So if you're serious about improvement and you want to get better, whether it's golf, sales, wrestling, you need to be assessing and self-evaluating. Whether that's through the Notes app, whether that's the chalkboard, the rookie mistake board.
Yeah.
But what I do for athletes who join with me, I have this platform I use, Train Heroic. It's a online training, essentially, platform where you could put in your weight, your sets, reps, Coach Coco. I put in all the exercises, the workouts, and there's actually videos that I can put my own videos, but there's an entire database of grade A, awesome coaches, big names in the industry. Guys, if you've ever... everybody's on there, from bodybuilding to powerlifting to strongmen. So when they come on my platform, they not only have access to me, direct communication, it has a messaging app, but you have access to all these world-class coaches for a fraction of a price that you would get with a in-person trainer. That's why I decided to use the Train Heroic platform, because not just because of its like user friendliness, but some of the best guys that I learned from. I'm still learning too. I don't sit and say, and if I don't know something, I'll tell my athletes I don't know. I think that's a big part of building the relationship, is like being vulnerable, being honest, and not in like the weak, sappy way. Like, be vulnerable. Like, no, you have to keep it real with people. Yeah, and that's how the relationship really builds.
Don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah, in both ways.
Up. Yeah.
So I get them on the Train Heroic platform. I have a Coach Coco training on there. Obviously, if somebody is interested, they can go in the link in the bio. They can message me directly. But anybody who works for me has access to it, and it's just easier for them to track the weights, the reps. And because I used to write it down on the notebook, then we get the iPhone, we did the notes. And now there's a lot of these good platforms coming out. And obviously I chosen to use this one because of the affiliation is strong with people in the industry who are legit. They're really doing an awesome job on there. So it's just an easy way for us to track everything. And like Justin said, like you said, it's all about progressive overload. So whether that's doing one more rep or increasing the weight, you want to continue to push yourself outside your comfort zone by doing a little bit more or a little more weight. And that's how you continue to progress on any sort of workout program. Because the guy in the gym, he comes in with the guinea tee, he's got the camo shorts on, he lays down on the bench press, and he's still hitting 135. It was 2010, he was hitting 135. It's 2024, he's still hitting 135.
Still got the same gallon of water.
Yeah.
Same
still doing the same thing. Still doing the same thing.
But a lot of people go into the gym, they do the same workout. I've been guilty of it. We've all gotten complacent. We're doing the same exercises, same routines. That's why it's important to switch things up, but obviously around the right principles for the right individuals. But everything you guys are saying reminded me of that. That's you need to know like what your numbers are. That's the bottom line.
You gotta have a baseline.
Right.
You're not gonna get better. Like you said, if you don't measure it, you can't manage it, right? If you don't put it down on pen, wherever you're gonna write it down, if you don't know what you did, you're not gonna know if you got any better. And it's funny you mentioned you got to change things up, and you see it a lot because there's plateaus, right? When you're getting stronger, you're gonna plateau, and you got to ride the plateau. Maybe tweak a couple of things. Sometimes you maybe not have to tweak things, and you just got to ride it out. Because your body, maybe take a deload week, you let your CNS recover, and then you can get back up again. But when you do that little change, your body's like, what the hell? Like I remember, so go to leg day, right? I love squats, right? Doing squats. You put some heavy weight on the bar.
Big squat guy.
And you do squats.
I used to hate it. Now I love it.
I love squats.
Learn to love it.
I love squats. And I always said that squats are like an analogy for life. It's when something heavy is weighing you down, you just need to get back up.
Yeah.
Right? You got a heavy ass weight.
It's a great analogy.
You got to get back up, right? And I love doing heavy squats, okay? But then some days I'm like, you know what? I'm going to switch it up again. And I told him about this exercise, or this workout. It was no weight, nothing. It's just body squats. And I would do, they call it EMOM, every minute on the minute. And you do body weight squats. Every minute on the minute, you do 20 reps for 20 minutes.
Nice.
Okay? So 20-minute workout, you start the timer, do 20 reps. And then how much time is left on the clock, you rest. When the clock hits 2 minutes, you do another 20 reps. When the clock hits 3 minutes, another 20 reps. And you keep doing that until you get to the full 20 minutes. Your legs are throbbing. At like the 12-minute mark, your legs are throbbing. You got 8 more minutes. And you can't even walk.
What's the quote from Dodgeball? What's the quote from Dodgeball when he's racking it and he's like his legs are twitching?
Look at the show. Involuntary spasm.
Yeah,
look at the show. Yeah, no, and then there's no weight. There's no weight on the bar. And your legs are dying. And your body's like, what the heck kind of workout was that?
Yeah.
And then you come back in the gym the next week and you're like, whoa, now I'm way stronger. Just changing it up, shocking the body. Your body just has no idea. Or Arnold used to say, sometimes he would go into the gym and he's like, all right, your body would get used to it. I know that I'm going to go and do 135. And then 225, and then 315. He goes, I know I'm going to. He's like, I used to come in sometimes, and I would jump to 315. So after my warm-up, he goes, I wouldn't start 135 and then for 20 reps, and then 225, and then 3. He goes, I would warm up, and I would jump right to 315. He goes, and then I would jump back to 135, and I'd go back up to 315. Then I might do 365. Then I might do 405. Then I go back to 220. And my body was like, what the hell is going on? I don't even, because he goes, I'm shocking the body. It has no idea. He goes, or I might before I bench, if you warm up and then I go to bench, he says, before I bench, I might go do a set of flies. And I'll do 3 sets of flies and then come bench. And now my chest is already pumped. And they're like, whoa, now I got to bench? What the hell are you doing? He goes, and your body just like has to react. It has to grow. You're like forcing it to grow.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. You offline a couple weeks or so ago, we were talking that you do every day you write like emails, articles, or some kind. I forgot what you said, but I wanted you to go into that because that takes. When you were talking about, I'm like, man, that takes a lot of dedication to write out these articles every single morning. You have to think about it. I'm sure you have to prepare a lot for it. I'm sure you probably have lined it up, but
unless you're using an AI.
So So what is it that you do, and how do you prepare for that?
Yeah, definitely. The emails have been definitely helpful. I'm building out my email list. It's one of the things that I'm really focused on right now because it's a way for people to get more than just the reel and like a video. I'd like to do these like tips of the day, quick IG reels, but in the newsletter, I can go into like more complex, in-depth topics. Like if you have a wrestle off, meaning like a playoff, a starting spot for another sport. So in wrestling, if you have 2 wrestlers in the same weight class, they'll have to what's called a wrestle off. It's essentially figuring out who's going to be the starter.
Yeah.
So this is something I've actually talked about today, I believe. But for the newsletter, I got a lot of time on the train. I typically write the newsletter. I have about an hour, right, to get there. I have it planned the night before, like a rough draft outline. But every day is a different topic. So Monday, what do you guys think Monday is?
On a Motivation Monday?
Mental Monday.
Tuesday, Technique Tuesday. Wisdom Wednesday. Throwback Thursday will be tomorrow. So we're recording this on Wednesday. Throwback Thursday is a fun one. I like to put out like really like relics of the past, icons, guys from the 90s, 80s, 70s. And then sometimes I'll even do somebody who's like write about somebody who's recent, like last 10 years, in order just to pay homage to them, show respect, because some of the younger guys might not know these athletes, just like the same with basketball and football, where guys that we looked up to were just beasts, right? So I'm trying to do it more as an information and like an education piece. But yeah, I'll craft the email.
What's Friday?
Friday's Finish Friday.
Finish Friday.
Finish a week strong.
Because it takes a lot of time.
It does
to think about it, to write it out, and if you have a certain, like, you have always different topics for every day, Mental Monday, so you have to like tailor each day, and it takes a lot of time. It
takes a lot of time. I take a lot of pride in the emails. It's been a blast. I really try to put my best effort forward with the editing, and I still make mistakes and typos. You can only do so much, even with like ABC spell check. Like, you still are gonna. So, but I definitely revise it, and
is it just a way to give it a little more value, So it's like if we do like a how-to cigar video or something like that, it's just additional value.
I'm doing it daily. I would recommend someone to do it like bi-weekly or weekly, maybe
daily's a lot.
Like a weekly roundup, but like what's going on with you guys. I think the email is great because it's just another touch point. You can get in front of your community and tell them what's going on, and link like the podcast you did, link a how-to video. I've been pressing Eric to do more how-to videos. Have you heard?
I have not.
I'm like, and he's like, and we had this discussion. I'm like, you should do those because it's like I do so sometimes. I think people like those.
I always said, like, there's always demand for how-to videos. Like we always say, like, we try to be different, but what does really well in any industry is how to light a cigar, how to shoot the leg, how to shoot a basketball. There's always people looking for that, but there's always people that are doing it. So I'm always like, do we want to do those videos? But they do well. So it's like
also tough too, because the three things are: how do you light a cigar, how do you cut a cigar, how do you smoke a cigar.
You'd be surprised.
So it's like once you do those three, it's like, all right, how do I ash a cigar? I mean, and then you get to a point where it's like, I'm kind of capped out. I can't really teach you anymore.
How do you build the podcast
without going into, because there's like surface level how tos, and then there's some deeper
granular ones,
right? That's like how to roll a cigar. Not many people are going to look to how to roll a cigar, or you're teaching them what are the different types of leaves, right? What's the difference between like a Seco and a Ligero, or what's the difference of the different plants? Some people might not crave that type of information, but some of the surface level ones, how do I light a cigar? Or how do I smoke a cigar? Like, very simple. Here's how you cut it. Because I still see some people cut terrible, like just way wrong. Just
They're
awful.
cutting like the footer.
Just awful. Just
they cut like an inch off the cigar.
And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Or when they light it and you see them smoke it, and it's like one tiny little section of cigar's lit. So that cigar's not lit, dude. And then they wonder why it smokes wrong. I said, you didn't even light it. I said, you did. They do one puff. Oh, I see smoke. I'm good. Like, whoa, wait a second.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
That's who says that?
Smokey the Bandit?
No, I'm thinking of a guy who we had on Arte du Fumar. He says where there's smoke, there's art, or some shit.
So, that was a good one.
Yeah, so he's a lawyer, but he makes crazy art pieces just through cigar bands, like really artistic bands, and
it's awesome.
He says when there's smoke, there's art. I think I forgot what his phrase is, but that's what I was thinking of.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. Is like, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. Like, you can't be surprised.
Yeah, I also think
I like that one.
When there's smoke, there's fire. It's like when you see a sketchy situation, there's usually something behind why that's happening.
Oh yeah, it's your gut feeling. It's the reason why you get a gut feeling.
Yeah,
it's like, I think somebody had said that your gut feeling is so everybody's body resonates on a certain frequency, and that's how you can, when you meet somebody and you're like, I like that guy. We vibe together, right? It's you guys might be resonating on the same frequency. Like, your body is vibrating, right? There's molecules, and every molecule vibrates. Your body's vibrating at some frequency, and you can pick up on other frequencies. When you guys are in sync, right? You guys match your frequencies, and you guys can finish each other's sentences. Like, you vibe. But on the flip side of it, when you get that gut feeling, people have said that that's something that's going on is vibrating at a frequency that doesn't match your frequency, and you can feel it. That's why you get a gut feeling. And they said you should always go with your gut feeling, because there's a reason that it's like combating your frequency. That frequency might not be blending well with your situation, so maybe you should try to. It's a gut feeling.
I'm a firm believer in this, Justin. Like, going with your gut, trusting your instincts. going with your first choice on the exam. I'm using a practical example.
Yeah.
Going with your first choice. And I think because of how many choices we have and because we're constantly like bombarded with advertisements and media, like our life, we need to simplify our thought process. Like this is another thing I help people with. Like, for example, your friends, you're in college, you tell me you want to be a national champ. Your friends are inviting you to go out and party and drink in season. Let's keep it real. Is this going to bring me closer to my goal or farther away from my goal?
Yep.
If I'm an adult starting a family, spending this right now going to move me closer or farther?
Yeah,
And
what's the end goal? And is the decision that you're about to make, is that getting you closer to the goal or pushing you further away from the goal?
And I'll bring it a step further. You asked me earlier, like, what are some exercises? I was just doing this today with a client. Is this within your control or outside of your control? Is this something you can change or is it not something you can change? And when you boil it down like that and you have somebody like me coming in was not in the emotional family type of role, just as a coach, you're like, maybe I should look at it that way. So it's just taking them down that rabbit hole, so to speak, to help make better decisions. And we really need to simplify and declutter our minds because we have stuff coming in from every direction. I'm victim of it too because we're all on social. We all have smartphones. We're constantly tapped in.
Well, I'm trying to pull something up because you had mentioned that the ask yourself the question: is this pushing me closer to my goal or is it pushing me further away from my goal? Is my mic?
I wanted to get
Hold on, I gotta ask him this quick.
Nah, I'll ask him this first. You're dealing with your mic. No, it's not gonna be fat. It's not gonna be quick, but it's not gonna be long. Have you ever? I've seen this video. When did this come out? This came out maybe like 6 or 7 months ago. But it was a wrestling match, and the dad came up on the mat and pushed a ref. Have you seen that video?
I saw the video.
Yeah,
that was infuriating.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then the ref did a whole like play by play. Like I don't know. Like I don't know.
It was a ref that you should have just like. Imagine the ref was like.
Have you seen this video?
I've seen it, but imagine the ref was a wrestler and he went to like push him, and the ref just like.
Well, the dad pushed him like from behind,
flipped him, and then threw him on his back or something. Be like.
But I mean, like
that'd have been great.
You know, what's your thoughts on that? Like, like how does that happen? Or like I don't know what the question is, but like I feel like that's just completely ridiculous.
Yeah, this video was viral. Justin, did you have a chance to see this video?
I saw the video. Yeah.
So all right, so we're all on the same.
He was like pissed. The ref was making a call.
It's this one right here. It's this guy gets this.
He's
fucking launched.
Yeah, I saw that video.
He's lucky he didn't retaliate. He's trained. He's a coach. He's a wrestler.
What, the ref?
Yeah, the official.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
he could have done serious.
If you push me on
damage to that, and he would have every right to. But he kept his composure. Was obviously a strong official and has been doing it for a while. I think he has like his own wrestling club. Like he's down in
made a bad call. The guy was pissed about it.
I don't know if it was even a bad call.
I don't know. If it was, well, in the parents' mind, it was a bad call. But it probably was the right call. Because most of the time, granted, officials do make some bad calls, but most of the time, they're
let's break this down for the listeners. There's a lot of sports fans. There's a lot of spectators. There's a lot of people who've actually, let's say, quite frankly, have never participated in a sport, better yet at a high level. So they have a lot of opinions. They have a lot of feelings, but they're not in sync with reality. So this father who went out on the mat, right, and had felt that his son was getting a, quote, bad call, he has no right to infringe on somebody else's freedom and personal space. He's lucky that the official didn't retaliate in a worse way. But at the end of the day, we are living in this like pressure cooker of youth sports now, which is these parents, especially if they've never played at a high level, have a background in coaching, physical education, etc., they think that their child is getting a scholarship. If we pull up the data, we'll run the numbers right now. We have 250,000 high school wrestlers on the boys' side and the girls' side. If we go to look at D1, D2, D3, and JUCO, you could find this on a Google search. About 1.3% are actually competing in college. So the odds of that wrestler at the high school level, at the middle school, at the youth level, actually even wrestling in college, we're looking at like 1.8%. Yeah,
99% of those high school athletes do not play college.
So we'll keep it simple. 90. So they think that they don't understand how the college system works. Obviously, as a former college coach, been wrestled in college, as you know, there's so much that goes into it from the academic side, the aid side, there's so many moving parts to even getting a kid admitted into college that everything comes back to this idea that they think that their child is going to get a scholarship and that this is a life or death. And all it does is this situation leaves that kid to probably not want to pursue wrestling.
Yeah, because I look at it like the dad just fucking just ruined the kid's confidence, his chance of getting a scholarship. He kind of just like, well, now I don't want my dad showing up anywhere.
Yeah, let's be clear. Like, I'm all for being competitive. I'm all for wanting to win, to strive for excellence, to hold ourselves to a high standard. But at the end of the day, we still need to keep in mind that these kids are young and it's just a wrestling match. Yeah. It's not war. This is not life or death.
I think what you're teaching your kid, too, is it's a detriment to the kid because now the kid is not learning. Like, listen, you're going to get bad breaks. There's going to be matches, in the wrestling case, where you're not getting all of the calls. There's going to be days where you're not at your very best. You need to push through those without mommy and daddy coming to solve your problems all the dang time. Okay, so that dad rushing out and pushing it. Now the kid teaches, whenever I get a bad call, my dad's just going to push the ref. No. The dad should have stayed back. And then when the kid comes back and complains, like, could you believe it? He didn't make this call. Listen, son, you got to push through that. You got to push through adversity. Sometimes it might not go your way. True. What are you going to do? Are you going to complain about it or are you going to work harder?
True.
Definitely the resiliency factor. We'll definitely get into that. I just want to add, so most of the time officials are volunteer basis are doing this for minimal pay, especially here locally, at the local level, a youth tournament. But you'll get some guys who are very high, like very experienced, maybe have NCAA coaching experience. They're just doing this to give back. So the parents and the athletes really need to understand, like, this person is doing it most likely because they care about the sport. They want to like develop the sport. And, just like my philosophy, like winning on the mat in life, like this person who's the ref wants to do the same thing. And so if you're like berating them and belittling them because you watched an NFL game and you think that that's real life, not here in our local community, you're setting like, that's the problem. It's like Christopher said, like life imitating art, like we watch the kids watch these guys on TV and they equate that to them without understanding, like your high school basketball coach who probably was a great influence on you. Like maybe he was a teacher in the school, maybe he wasn't. Like they're doing this for minimal pay. They're doing this because they want to help young men become better people. Doesn't matter the sport. So we need to stop being critics of them. And maybe the parents need to get into practice or get into the arena a little bit and know that take it easy on the kids a little bit.
I remember it wasn't to this magnitude, but I remember playing football. I think I was like in 8th grade. And I remember I think I played tight end and I just got tackled and I stood up and I remember seeing my coach running across the sidelines and I'm like, what the fuck? And he tackles this dad in the stands. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So at the time, my coach's wife had cancer. I don't know what ever happened because this was so long ago. But apparently the other team's dad of the other team, he was berating the mom, saying shit to the mom, getting in her face. And the dad from across, so his wife, this happened to, and he just fucking lost it and just. I remember me getting like whistle, getting up. I'm like, all right, I'm get ready for the play. I'm like, holy shit, there's my coach. What the fuck? Oh my god, what the fuck just happened? And it was a whole big thing. And I'm like, this is fucking.
Some
nuts.
people lose their cool, man.
Well, I mean, definitely. I'm sure any guy would lose their cool with their wife who has cancer is getting berated by some other guy.
So that's what the guy was berating his wife.
So my coach's wife was in the stands watching the game, and I remember the exact reasons, but I remember.
Yeah, I'd probably lay that guy out too.
Yeah, of course. And I don't know remember what he did, but I remember just like I said, it was like, oh shit, here you go. Oh damn, oh shit, what the coach? What are you doing?
That reminds me of I just saw a clip on this, and I was gonna send it to my wife actually, but the caption like didn't even make any sense. Whatever, somebody sometimes they put these captions over the videos. I'm like,
I see a trend now with these captions, like these funny videos or meme videos, and then the captions like about a car,
and it makes no sense.
Yeah,
I've seen those too. I think that's like an algorithm trick or something. Whatever,
so stupid.
But I saw this video, and I think it was it's Modern Family. I think, and I don't watch. I just because of the actors and actresses, I don't watch the show. But the guy said, he said, oh, by the way, if you ever, he was talking to these two guys, and his wife was there, and he's told the guys like, oh, by the way, if you ever speak like that to my wife again, I'll kill you. And he's like, hold on, let me rephrase that because it sounded like a joke. I will kill you. He's like, If you ever speak to my wife again like that, I will kill you. But it came off like laughing. And he's like, oh.
Let me take it back.
I'm
actually being
Let
serious.
me say that because that did sound like a joke. I'm serious. I will. And it's somebody who's doing like that, I would probably do the same thing.
Yeah, of course.
But to go back to you were talking about with the decisions, right? When you have a decision to be made, and you simple ask, is it going to take me closer to my goal, or is it going to take me further away from my goal? If the answer is further away, don't do it. If the answer is going to take you closer, do it. It reminded me of this flow chart that somebody talks about. It's called the worry flow chart.
Oh yeah,
you've seen this?
Good. Yeah.
Where it says, because everybody's worrying about it. The same thing when you're nervous. You're nervous about it, you're worrying about all these things. You're fearful of all these things. It says, do you have a problem? Okay. If the answer is no, then don't worry. If you don't have a problem, don't worry. So do you have a problem? If the answer is yes. Can you do something about that problem? If the answer is no, then don't worry. But if you have a problem, the answer is yes. Can you do something about the problem? The answer is yes. Okay, then don't worry. Do something about it. So it all leads down to don't worry. It's fine. If you don't have a problem, don't worry. If you do have a problem and you can fix it, fix it. If you can't fix it, then don't worry about it. Like, so you don't worry. It's the same thing with going back to you write all these things down I'm nervous about, and you look at all of them. Can I do anything about that? No. All right, don't be nervous about it. Can I do anything about that? No. Don't be nervous about it. Can I do anything about that? No. Don't be nervous about it. Like,
don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
I forgot the guy who sings that song, but yeah, that's a famous song. What's
Is that Bob Marley?
No, it's.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
I think it might be.
No. It's definitely somebody else.
Look that up. Shazam it.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not on here.
Oh, let's see. Don't worry, be happy. It's guys like names like Eddie or something. I guarantee it. Don't worry.
Reminds me of a kid's song.
Don't worry, be happy.
Bobby McFerrin.
Bobby McFerrin, huh?
McFerrin. Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
I know the song, but I don't know.
Yeah. But my question, so, what is your favorite part about what you do? Like, you get up every single day and you're like, all right, I'm gonna do this today, and this is why I get up and do it. Is it like giving back? Is it connecting with the guys or whoever you're working with? What is it that drives you?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say the mission is obviously I have extreme passion for the sport. I know what it can do and how it can change lives. Really, it's just building champions on the mat and in life. Really, wrestling, think of it, it's the vehicle, it's the car. It gets us to point A to point B. Wrestling is such an awesome sport in and of itself, but it's more so of what it can do to the individual and bring them from point A to point B, whether that's through, discipline, sacrifice, hard work, determination, all these great qualities that we want to have as a husband, a parent, an employee, an owner, a business owner, with the podcast, with the consulting. Like, wrestling teaches you all these intangibles. Like Justin was talking about, the resiliency, the kids are relying on the parents to swoop in. You learn that by making mistakes and by failing. And wrestling is just another great way to reveal those things. And that's really what drives me personally, because I know what wrestling has done for my life. If it wasn't for wrestling, I wouldn't be who I am today.
That was going to be my next question. What has wrestling done for you? Because obviously you talk from experience and you can relate to it. So, I don't know if that's a personal question, but like, what has wrestling? Because you wrestled since high school, right? I remember. You know what? It's funny. I remember I was in the barbershop and I was talking to Nick. He wrestled upstairs. I forgot. I texted you that one time. But he remembers you. He's like, "Oh, your cousin's with Nick? Holy shit, bro!" He's like, "I was never afraid of anybody, but I remember Nick Coco. I was like, damn, I gotta respect this kid." He's like, he's fucking balls to the wall and is intense. And he said all these good things about it. He's like, yeah, me and Nick used to wrestle all the time. But what has wrestling done for you, and like how it's formed you to who you are today, and how you developed to this being and creating your own business from it?
Yeah, like I said, I definitely remember Nick. We used to go to like similar wrestling clubs, and he was from up north. But you meet a lot of people through wrestling, older than you, younger than you, like most sports, right? So it's crazy that he just still remembers me. And we definitely were cool, and we had great rapport even back then. So it's super cool to see that.
Because he specifically said, "I'm not afraid of anybody, but Nick would give me a run for my money."
That's like, hilarious. You're like, cut my hair.
Yeah. Hit my fade real quick.
Nah, it's awesome. Yeah, I know a lot. Anybody from like our age group, 4 years older than us, 4 years younger than us, I probably know them just because the community is smaller. It's more of a niche sport, where football, basketball has such large numbers. These guys all know each other too, but it's more of like a personal sport.
More intimate.
Yeah, one-to-one. It's individual sport. It's different, but I'll get into the team element. But yeah, you're asking me more like, what did it do for me and why I'm doing this? It's just because I wouldn't be the person I am without it. And I know what it can do for you, because before that, I had a lot of aggression. I had a lot of just energy that I needed to get out. And wrestling really was like that funnel that allowed me to channel that. And all boys, a lot of young men need these vehicles in order to be successful. And without them, you see a lot of like behavioral issues, legal challenges. Young people, young men in particular, need these vehicles in order to be successful and to channel that testosterone, channel that energy, which is fair to say, right?
Absolutely.
But if it wasn't for wrestling changed my life, and I wouldn't be here without it. And it really was I was the first client. It was for me to be as a tool to get into college, not just based on academics, but athletics. And I knew that if I continued to work hard and I put my mind to it and I pushed myself, I could utilize it to get into college and eventually graduate and become a first-generation college student. Outside of football, wrestling is the second most sport in all of the NCAA that has first-generation college athletes and graduates.
Meaning like within your whole family?
Within your whole family, and you got to understand it's from a smaller sample size, right? So just like how cigars...
So football and wrestling are the two highest programs that have first-generation college athletes. Interesting.
Yes.
That's interesting.
So it's awesome, and I just keep doing what I'm doing because I know how it changed my life, and I know how it can change other people. And really, there's not a lot of places in the world today where we can get these things. Yes, we could build it up in the gym, which is something I highly recommend doing, but it's similar to why we're here. It's like the cigars bring people together. There's a camaraderie component. There's relationships. There's bonds that are built over it. And there's just something about being part of a community that's special. And I think that's where other sports tend to lack. Wrestling tends to fulfill, in my opinion.
Yeah, because, I mean, you definitely talk from experience, because I don't think without that journey, without that experience, you wouldn't be able to be as passionate, just like anything else that you do in life. But I don't think I ever really asked you what wrestling has done for you, because obviously it's done amazing things and to bring you where you are today. But it's and people can feel it when you talk to these kids, these clients of yours. They can definitely feel. I'm sure I'm not one of your clients, but just knowing you on a daily basis, I know they can feel the energy and the passion that you have, and be like, all right, this guy's the real deal. He's not just some Joe Schmo just trying to get me to work with him. He's the guy who is really into it. And I'm sure that's a part of how you explain the things that you do.
Yeah, just to give like a little more context, like I started wrestling late, like 8th grade. I wasn't on the varsity until 9th grade. Typically, wrestlers aren't on varsity. It depends on their skill level, right? Just like any other sport. But I had to catch up. So what that means is I had to double and triple my time compared to somebody who started at 5. Going back to the first generation piece, going back to being a late starter in the game, I knew that I had to catch up. So by catching up, that meant in every spring, every summer, I had to get in another 30, 40, 50 matches. So I had to really expedite and speed up the process. So I know how to take a wrestler who's a beginner or who has limited experience and bring them up to speed with guys who typically they're not on par with. There's a lot of like limiting beliefs in the space, like, oh, if you don't start at 5, then you can't be a national. We see this being like debunked in other sports all the time.
Yeah, that's all over the place where they say. I mean, look at some of the guys in the UFC where. Like,
great example.
What's the guy? He's the heavyweight champion of the world right now.
Tom Aspinall?
No.
John Jones?
Is it John Jones?
In UFC?
Francis Ngannou?
Yes, that guy. Francis Ngannou. You know that he didn't start, like he started playing basketball, I think. He wasn't like a boxer, a fighter. He didn't start fighting until, I don't know, maybe 17 or something like that. But then he's the heavyweight champion of the world. It's like people think, oh, I have to, in order to be the best, I have to start at 3. It's like, no, in order to be the best, you have to put in the most amount of work. Okay. Now, Kobe Bryant had said it where he talks about his training regimen. He says, all right, well, let's say you got a guy that wakes up, you want to go to a high level, you got to train. Okay. So let's say you wake up at 8 a.m. Okay. You have your breakfast, you train at 10. You train from 10 to 12. Then you go home, you shower, you come back, you train from 4 to 6. Right. And then you go home, you wake up, you do it again. You're doing two a days. He goes, now imagine me. He goes, I wake up at 4 a.m. He goes, I train from 5 to 7. I come home. I'm back at it again from 11 to 1. I come home. I'm back at it again from 4 to 6. I come home. I'm back at it again from 9 to 10, 9 to 11, and then I come home. You know, I do that every single day. He goes, after a while, the amount of separation between you and the people that he goes, it gets to a point where no matter how much work they put in, they can never catch you because of the amount of work that you've put in. He goes, you just separate yourself from these people. So like you had said, if you're starting at a late, you might need to play a little bit of catch up. But if you're putting in the work, and even the work that when you're not doing the physical work, you're at home and you're putting in the mental work, you're doing the training, you're working on, because you can do you can go in and work from 9 to 11 and do, or like let's say you start it early, you go 5 to 7 and you're doing like a workout, and then that 9 to 11 you might be doing some more technique stuff. So you're not going like as hard, but you're doing some technique, and then you come back in the afternoon and now you might do, I'm working on a very specific weakness, and I might do a little bit of sparring. And then you go back again. The later ones is now I'm going to work on more on like studying some game plan. But you're putting in all these reps, and you just separate yourself from people, and they can't catch up no matter what they do. They're never going to get, because you've put in so much effort, and that's what makes you great.
Absolutely. I remember, speaking of this topic, I forgot this. The last time you told us a stat, something about wrestlers. They're like the most. Oh my God, I got to look back in the podcast episode, but I don't know if you can remember it. But you were saying like wrestlers are the most something about success or some kind of high level position. I don't know if it rings a bell, but I remember you telling me. I'm like, holy shit, that's what it is? And I don't know if it rings a bell. Maybe Justin's looking it up.
No, I'm actually looking up when Francis Ngannou began training in boxing at the age of 22.
Sounds about right.
22, and then stopped after a year for illness, and he started his MMA career in 2013 and began training as a fighter in Paris. Mm-hmm. Right? And then he began his MMA career in 2013. So how old is he?
36.
So how old is
36?
Francis
Ngannou?
10 years.
So he's 38.
Success.
Yeah,
But think about it. He's 38, and he started training at 22. Okay? But think about it. He didn't train. He wasn't training at 8 years old. Mm-hmm. He started at 22. That's after college. So that's all these guys that are high schoolers that have a wrestling background. He didn't start boxing until 22.
Damn. He's an inspiration.
Right?
He's a champion for a reason.
Maybe did you say maybe most NFL linemen were wrestlers at one point? Do you remember what
there's a lot of stats.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, Stephen Neal was a wrestler. He was very high level from the Patriots. If you remember Stephen Neal, and then obviously Ray Lewis was a Florida state champion.
Brock Lesnar
was a Minnesota D1.
By the way, have you seen his daughter?
No. Yeah, she's a beast.
Yeah,
bro.
Are you surprised?
Bro.
Genetics definitely play a factor.
Literally, dude, looks exactly.
We didn't get into genetics on this episode.
Dude, her name is Maya Ann. Dude.
This is the next generation where you have these like elite level athletes. Now they're starting to have kids and they're starting to be in that teenage year. So,
bro.
Oh, that looks like Brock Lesnar with long blonde hair.
It's literally Brock Lesnar with hair.
Holy shit.
He's a Minnesota alum.
She's Lesnar. Colorado State, and
he tried out for football.
Brock, he played on the Vikings. He played on the Vikings for a short stint. Yeah, for sure.
She broke the shot put record at Colorado State with an 18.5 foot throw, I guess.
So it's safe to say Justin's favorite basketball player is Kobe because he brought him up about. He's my favorite.
Michael Jordan, I think, is his favorite.
Well, I was in a Jordan era. But I was more of a Kobe era. I don't know about favorite basketball player of all time. I mean, Kobe's up there. Dude.
I'll get it.
Kobe's got to be.
He's got to be.
I think he might be mine.
That's I'm glad you brought up because I've seen those interviews. I'm like, when I'm doing mental training, like I'll send not just highlights of wrestlers. I'll actually go outside the box and like try to tap in. And there's a lot we can learn from other athletes. I talk about this all the time. But just to go on the Kobe Bryant, so every athlete, high level, these wrestlers, I help them build like a daily schedule, right, from morning to evening. And every high-level athlete is getting 2 to 3 workouts in a day, like you mentioned earlier. But there's specific things, like it could be doing the journal that we talked about. It could be doing visualization. It could be doing film, which we've already talked about. But I help them set up their daily plan, and then that's another thing that they'll submit to me. I'll evaluate. I'll give feedback, and we're constantly like adjusting. But at the end of the day, it could be professional in here, but you need to have a daily action plan, and it has to be like time stamped essentially, because you know, Eric earlier asked me like, can how would this apply to sale? Everybody needs to have their daily plan, like, and have a schedule. But that's one of the things. I was just on the IG Live. I brought a wrestler on. He's a close friend of mine now, Antoine. He's an NCAA champ. He was a very high-level wrestler from Mount Union College out in Ohio. And I had him tell his daily schedule, and he was waking up at 3 a.m. He was telling me on the IG Live how he was running hill sprints. Like I said, what are you, Walter Payton? He was doing different like animal movements.
It's a great workout, though. Hill sprints.
And I wanted to tap in. Well, he was my guest, and I was like, what was your daily schedule like? Because it's going to help kids, you know, realize what they need to do. He was doing 2 or 3 workouts a day. He was doing everything we just talked about, and he was doing it early, and he was getting that mental edge across the competition. I think he was undefeated that season.
Well, that's another thing too. Is you said, you know, when you get up early like that, and like when you get a workout in early, or you do anything, or like you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and that's just earlier than everybody else. And when you get that workout in, or you get whatever it is in the training, then when you're done, you're sitting down and you're showered and you're like starting your day.
At 7:30,
and now people are waking. You're like, listen,
Yep.
like you're just waking up at 8 o'clock, or 9 o'clock, or 10 o'clock. I've already done
sets the tone.
It's
right?
It's the only time I like to work out. I like to work out 5:30, 6 o'clock, and it's the fucking best. It's dark out. It's cold. You pull in.
Dude.
You go in dark. You come out, and it's bright. And like I said, there is no better. You know, it's a little bit different now because I got a kid. I'm trying to freaking transition how to figure out how to get back in the gym. But that's the only time I really ever work out. Anytime I had a long, continuous gym routine was always in the morning.
Well, what's his name? Go back to my favorite basketball. Go back to Kobe Bryant. They had there's a story about him. I think it was the Olympic team. It might be the Olympic team, but I forgot what team it was. Where they they traveled somewhere, and they were there for to play for a number of games or whatever, right? And first night, okay, the team all goes out and they're partying, okay, and Kobe doesn't go, and they're partying and they're partying and they're partying, and they come back, and it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're coming in, right, from from partying. They're just coming back, and who do they see in the sitting in the lobby with ice packs on his knees? Kobe Bryant. And one of the guys says, "We just came from partying, and this mother has already done a workout. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's already finished with ice packs on his knees, and we're coming in from the night before." And they said, like, Kobe, like, why don't you come out with us? He's like, no, but we're here. We got a job to do. And he's like, no, come on. He's like, all right. He goes, I'm going to come out with you one night, right? So he goes out with them. He comes back, right? Goes to sleep. 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm just paraphrasing. I don't know the exact time. He's knocking. And the people are like, Kobe, what are you doing? He goes, I went out with you. Now you come work out with me. He goes, and Kobe had 2 hours of sleep. He goes, I went out with you. Now you come work out with me. And he got all the guys to get up, go working out. And he goes, by the end of their trip, nobody was going out. Everybody was up at 4 o'clock in the morning working out. And he goes,
shut it down.
He goes, we're not here to party. We got a job to do.
That's
goes,
like
he goes, takes one guy.
That's like the famous commercial with Emmitt Smith. He just won the Super Bowl, and I forgot what the premise of the commercial was, but he's in the gym and he's benching, and he's like championships is built in the off season. He just came off a Super Bowl championship, and he's fucking lifting weights. He says champions are built in the off season. It's very, very powerful and very, very true about getting that mental and physical edge at an early part of the day, early part of the process. There's some kind of special force in there.
There was another time when he goes in for I forgot who the player was, but the player was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go, get a workout, whatever." He goes, "I go into the gym, and who do I see? Already drenched in sweat, shooting." He goes, "Kobe." Kobe had just finished the workout, and he's shooting. Right?
I can't believe he's dead, man. It's fucking a shame, bro.
So the guy said, "He goes, I see Kobe." He goes, and he's shooting. He goes, so I start my work, and now Kobe's already drenched in sweat, right? And he goes, "I'm getting into the gym." So I get into the gym and I start my workout. I go through my whole workout, and who's still there? Kobe. He said, Kobe's still working. He's still shooting, right? And he goes, so I leave, okay? And then he goes, I come back a little bit later, and who's in the gym again? He goes, I came back to do another. He goes, Kobe's still there. Kobe's in the gym again, sweating, drenched in sweat, right? He goes, and then we came back, and we had practice later that night. And who's there? Who's there first? Kobe's there, right? He goes on. Who after practice? Who was still there? Kobe was still there, right? He says, I pulled over Kobe. I'm like, oh, what's going on, man? He goes, why are you? He goes, because I saw you come in. He goes, and I wanted you to know that you will never outwork me.
The Mamba mentality.
He goes,
baby.
I saw you come in. He goes, so I'm here first, and you'll no matter what you do, you will never outwork me. And I was
That's a competitor right there.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's a missing piece now.
He's like got that thing in his brain. He's like, I didn't want you to think that you had any.
That's like Michael
upper
Jordan,
hand.
In that one documentary, where he said, Nick was talking shit to me in my head. He didn't talk shit to me, but I pretended he did.
Yeah.
And it just made me want to fucking just annihilate him.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I got fucking that edge on him. He's
And
like,
Kobe would say this. Kobe would say that about like passing the ball. He goes, I've seen you in practice. He goes, Kobe, why don't you pass the ball? He goes, because I've seen you in practice. He goes, I've seen how much effort you put in. You don't put nearly as much effort. So why would I give you the ball when it's crunch time? He goes, I put in way more effort than you did. He goes, I deserve to take the last shot. You didn't put the effort in. You're showing up late to practice and leaving early. Why would you get the ball?
Fact. Damn.
I'm like, shit.
Shut it down.
Shit.
Nicky Coco, Coach Coco in the studio. Coming to the end here.
Dominic DeCoco.
Nicholas Coco. Coach Coco in the studio.
Yes.
At this part of our show.
Hour
our
and 20
podcast.
minutes, dude.
Perfect. Ideal.
Perfect.
I'd like just to give you the red carpet. Kind of plug away to the people watching, the people listening, where they can find you, where they can follow you. Anything that's coming up. Anything to have some, what's the word?
Red carpet.
No, like no shame plug. No shame plug.
Plug away, bro.
Yeah, plug away,
Plug
my friend.
away.
Awesome. Well, this is it. Thank you guys again for an awesome episode. Thank you for
Hour
having me
20
on.
minutes.
Nick's like, I can go for another hour and a half.
another hour,
I
you know
can
what I'm
fucking
saying?
do this.
I've seen those other podcasts, and you're not going to outwork this one. We're going for another hour.
yeah. Mamba mentality. No, I think it's good. Keep it under 90 minutes. Like if you can't get it done in that amount of time, it's like a practice.
I mean, we talked about a lot.
We covered a lot.
And you said a lot of good things.
So I have a clinic coming up actually in Brooklyn. It's in Dumbo. The gym is at Warriors Nation, Warriors MMA. It's like right next to the Brooklyn Bridge, where everybody takes pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing a wrestling clinic there on it's the 29th. It's Tuesday the 29th at 3:45, opening it up to high school and college kids. Find me on Instagram at Coach_Coco_ COCO. Very easy to remember. So Coach_Coco_. And then everything from YouTube to Twitter to Facebook is Coach Coco Wrestling. Coach Coco Wrestling. So keeping it simple, keeping it very easy to find me. I have a lot of how-tos, a lot of different techniques on YouTube where you could search for the shorts, you could search for the long format videos. I have a lot of guests on there. I only bring them on so you guys can learn, really. And so find me at Coach Coco Wrestling on YouTube. Facebook's at Coach Coco Wrestling. Twitter, Instagram at Coach_Coco_. Obviously, I got a website, CoachCocoWrestling.com.
Coach Coco, everything.
Just Google Coach Coco.
I mean, it's a very marketable name, I must say. It goes very well.
Just Google.
Thank you,
Just Google
gentlemen.
Coach Coco. You'll find it.
I tried to keep it uniform.
You got to,
of
because when
course.
people start searching that name, it pops up everywhere.
Yeah.
And we've had some great success with that. Trying to get more client reviews, more testimonials, put those out, and get even the Google reviews have been a good thing for me. So if someone's looking to find me, just shoot me a message on Instagram,
And we'll put it all in the description
yes.
here. We'll give you all the plugs, all the links. Nick, we appreciate you coming on here for the second time, my brother. Make sure you guys follow him. Make sure if you're in any of this space that he's in, give him a follow. Give him some, ask for some advice, how he can help you. And we wish you nothing but the best, my friend, in your endeavor.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And thank you all you guys for watching and listening. And as we like to say, our signature send-off, as we are wearing on our T-shirts, Nick and I, we like to say cheers, chin chin, and salute. We'll see you on the next one.
Salud.